Hello and welcome to the DSFL 2020 Mid-Year Recap Show. I'm your host, Charger Dude 95. On this year's show, we have special guests that will break down what's happened throughout the course of this year and a preview with predictions of the future of the league, along with the storylines that you need to know. But for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, the DSFL, Dream Season Football League for short, is a simulation of everything from the greatest teams of all time, the greatest franchises of all time, and single seasons, along with the greatest teams to never win the Super Bowl. This year's edition, DSFL 2020, features the top 20 teams to play over the last 20 years. And it's been a thrilling first half of the season. We're at the midway checkpoint of the regular year, 10 weeks long, then we have playoffs. And for those of you also just joining us, let's take a look at the standings of what has happened so far. We begin in the NFC. The Seahawks and the Packers share the conference lead, but Seattle just lost their first game of the season in a thrilling home defeat to the hands of Super Bowl 52 champion Philadelphia. Meanwhile, the 3 seed is shared by 4 different teams. The New Orleans Saints came from behind against the Giants, led by a way of 4 touchdown passes from Drew Brees en route to their 3rd win of the year. Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Atlanta round out the playoff squads with the Giants, Rams, Eagles, and Bears nipping on their heels. Meanwhile, in the AFC, the New England Patriots, who we all know were stunned in one of the greatest upsets in NFL history in Super Bowl 42 over those Giants. New England is off to a scorching start this season. Led by a way of a 28-3 blowout over the Chargers, the Patriots have tied the Chiefs for the best record after their win in Week 5. Jacksonville is 4-1. They have been a shocking development this year, going only 10-6 in the 2017 campaign. Baltimore is 3-2. Oakland, Pittsburgh, and San Diego all will play each other in the second half of the season, so that may be a conference race which comes down to the final game of the year. Indianapolis won their first game of the season over the Jets. Meanwhile, New York and Denver are still scrapping for their first win, and by this point, if they don't win next week, then their season is most likely over. Now, the playoffs feature the top 6 teams out of each conference. First 2 teams earn a bye. It's the format used during the 20-year era that these teams played under. Now, of course, news passed this past off season that the NFL will expand its playoffs 1 bye, 2 through 7 play in the opening round of the playoffs. We're not doing it that way because, the 20-year rule during that era was of a certain format. And for those 6 playoff teams, it is interesting to consider all of the playoff scenarios from who they play to their conference record. The 6 teams that make it will be the top 6 seeds in terms of overall record, and the tiebreakers will be determined by conference record, followed by head-to-head, followed by point differential. There's a lot of different factors involved. Lucas Vicente, who has been a DSFL fan for years and is an expert with the historic teams over the last 20 years and the DSFL overall, he has more on the teams to look out for and dark horses too, along with favorites for win all of these conferences and divisions. Lucas?
All right, thanks, Nick. So here are my predictions for the playoffs. For the NFC East, I got the 2017 Eagles. The Eagles that won their first Super Bowl in franchise history. This was Carson Wentz's MVP season up until he got that torn ACL. And for the NFC North, I got the 2010 Green Bay Packers, led by Super Bowl MVP Aaron Rodgers. And I got the NFC West Seahawks in the playoffs too, with that Legion of Boom defense and Russell Wilson in beast mode, Marshawn Lynch. And if they do make it to the playoffs, remember, give the ball to Lynch at the 1-yard line. The 09 Saints, I got them winning their division as well. They may be mediocre to start the year, but I trust Drew Brees and the rest of that squad who managed to bring New Orleans their first Super Bowl title in franchise history. And the other 2 teams I got, both in the NFC South as a matter of fact, the 2016 Atlanta Falcons and the 02 Buccaneers. And my dark horse pick is the 02 Buccaneers with that defense they got of Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber, John Lynch, Dexter Jackson, the Super Bowl MVP, Simeon Rice, and Warren Sapp. And despite blowing the 28-3 lead against the Patriots in Super Bowl 51, I still got the 16 Falcons in the playoffs because they got a high-power offense in Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and Mohamed Sanu. For the Western Division, I got that high-powered offense, Kansas City Chiefs, Patty Mahomes, Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. You name it, they are it. And then for the AFC North, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers from 2005, the Big Ben to Heinz Ward connection, along with their defensive beasts, Troy Polamalu and James Harrison. For the AFC East, you know who I got, the 07 Pats, with Tom Brady and Randy Moss. The team that broke so many records offensively and nearly went 19-0 perfect season until they lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl. And for the AFC South, I got the Indianapolis Colts with Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, and Peyton Manning. And also, my two wildcard teams will be the 2000 Ravens and the 2013 Denver Broncos. Now that's another Peyton Manning-led team, and that team itself is my dark horse pick for the AFC because they had a dominant defense and a dominant offense as well. Back to you, Nick.
A touchdown and an extra point wins it. First and goal, Johnson back at the 15, dumps it short. It's caught by Michael Pittman and he's in. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Touchdown, Michael Pittman. The Bucs have an extra point needed to take the lead. As Johnson checks it down and Pittman is tackled inbounds, this game is over. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, fourth quarter comeback of the ages.
The 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Lucas Vicente's dark horse for the NFC, came back in a thrilling win over the Jets in Week 4, 16-15 with that touchdown to Michael Pittman. It was an incredible play, an incredible game for a team that featured the best defense in the NFL in 2002, led by John Gruden. We all know in San Diego, he dismantled his former team, the Oakland Raiders, in that Super Bowl win, Super Bowl 37. So, yet another great game of the DSFL 2020. We have links below to all of the highlights through the first half of the season, and make sure to keep it tuned. We have 2 weeks every week, every Thursday and every Sunday, the rest of the way for the regular season, for highlights, for game recaps, and for analysis. Hank Louis probably has the most analysis of us all in the DSFL 2020. He has been such an incredible fan throughout the course of these years. Hank has a look at all of the team's storylines this year and some of his favorites too. Hank, what do you have for us?
Hello everybody and welcome to the midway point for the DSFL 2020. I am Hank, founder of the Tecmo Bowl Series BTFL Best Team Football League. Today in this video we will be looking at the best teams from the DSFL 2020, the most disappointingly bad teams from the DSFL 2020, and the top 5 best plays from the first 5 weeks here in the midpoint of the DSFL 2020. The first team that we're going to look at and start off with is the 4-1 2013 Seattle Seahawks. This was a football team that ended up going 13-3 in the 2013 season and ended up with their strong defense, the Legion of Boom, winning Super Bowl 48 against the 2013 Denver Broncos with a really tough quarterback in Peyton Manning. Thus far this season, the Seahawks have really excelled on the defensive side of the football, led by inside linebacker Bobby Wagner and safety Earl Thomas. They've been knocking opposing quarterbacks on their backs and holding opposing offenses back, and their offense has been led all season by their running back, Marshawn Lynch, also known as Beast Mode, as he's run for 66 attempts for 199 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. And the second team that we are going to talk about in the NFC is the 4-1 2011 Green Bay Packers. This year in the DSFL 2020, Aaron Rodgers is currently leading the DSFL 2020 in total yards passing, in total touchdowns scored, with a 76 completion percentage. And of course, what quarterback would he be without his wide receivers, Jordy Nelson, Donald Driver, and Greg Jennings? The 4-1 Green Bay Packers look to lead the NFC right behind the Seattle Seahawks to the promised land. Their defense has also been extremely stout, and Aaron Rodgers has been amazing at come-from-behind victories. Now to the AFC with the 2018 Kansas City Chiefs, led by MVP quarterback in 2018, Patrick Mahomes. In the DSFL 2020, the Kansas City Chiefs are riding a 5-0 record going into the midpoint of the season. Patrick Mahomes with 1,051 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, and a leading 0 interceptions with a 76 completion percentage. Of course, Patrick Mahomes has used the abilities of his running back, Kareem Hunt, and his wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, and tight end, Travis Kelce. We wrap up our better teams in the DSFL with the 2007 New England Patriots, the team that has been declared by most experts to be the greatest regular season team in NFL history. The team that won 18 games, including the playoffs, until the Super Bowl, which we all remember what happened. However, this team right now in the DSFL 2020 is currently 5-0, tied with the 2018 Kansas City Chiefs, of course, led by their quarterback, Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of our generation, a quarterback which currently has 882 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception with a 75% completion percentage. Of course, this is a guy with a great offense with a lot of weapons around him, including Randy Moss, the Hall of Famer, Wes Welker, Dante Stallworth, running back Lawrence Maroney, and a defense of Asante Samuel, Rodney Harrison, and Randall Gay. This team looks to keep up with the Kansas City Chiefs of 2018 as they go towards the end of the season in the DSFL 2020. And now we go to the surprisingly bad teams in the DSFL 2020. One of the better teams that I know that lost the Super Bowl happened to be the 2002 Oakland Raiders that were led by Rich Gannon, who was the MVP of the 2002 NFL season. He had Tim Brown, he had Jerry Rice, he had a great running game. They happened to lose to the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but currently in the DSFL 2020, this Raiders team, they started out 0-3. They have won 2 consecutive games to end the season. They have been in many of these games, but Rich Gannon, the MVP of the 2002 NFL season, passing for 920 yards and having a dismal 5 touchdown and 6 interception season. He has had 1 rushing touchdown and 1 fumble, but this isn't something that you would see from an MVP type candidate. Of course, the Raiders are not the worst team in the DSFL 2020, but a team that was that good and has that much talent should definitely be better than they are right now. The second and third most surprisingly disappointing teams in the DSFL 2020 being the 2 teams which Peyton Manning is leading. Peyton Manning, we all know, is probably the greatest regular season quarterback in NFL history. However, 2 extreme high-octane offenses, of course led by Peyton Manning, having guys like Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Brandon Stokely, Dallas Clark, Demaryius Thomas, and even Wes Welker on that 2013 team. These 2 teams, on average, out of adding these 2 teams' records together, they have a record of 1-9. The 2013 Broncos haven't won a single game. Seemingly horrible play calling, guys being in the wrong place at the wrong time at the end of games, trying to get back in. Instead of passing the ball on 4th down and long, they're just running the ball. It just doesn't make any sense. This comes down to bad coaching. And as for the Colts, they've been in a lot of these games. However, they just have been unable to finish, and not even the future Hall of Fame quarterback Peyton Manning has been able to help either of these 2 teams. So both the 2013 Broncos And the '09 Colts have been tremendous disappointments here in the DSFL 2020. And the final disappointing team in the DSFL 2020 just so happens to be the 2006 Chicago Bears, a team that really wasn't known that much for their offense. And they have had a very good defense. They have been in many of the games that they've played, and they have kept it close, which is what you'd expect from a defense that was led by Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs. But of course, the one thing that they've been unable to do is they've been unable to do very much on offense. Rex Grossman, who's got 691 passing yards and a dismal 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, just hasn't been able to get the ball rolling, and that's one of the reasons why the 2006 Chicago Bears are 0-5 and the worst team in the NFC here in the DSFL 2020. So the first play takes us to Tampa. We got a play action fake. Eli Manning to Plexico burst. He breaks a few tackles, and if you remember the BTFL season, the Buccaneers shot themselves in the foot that time. Touchdown, Plexico Burress. So the Jaguars are down in Indy. The handoff to Chris. His teeth are as white as ivory. He breaks a few tackles, runs into the end zone for the touchdown. Falcons hosting the Raiders. Matt Ryan, he's got a shallow pass to Julio Jones. Whoop! He shows off the juke moves, and he shows off why the Falcons are so good. Now to Baltimore, where they host the Bears. 2 great defenses. The handoff goes to Jamal Lewis, and he goes, "Get off me." He runs down close to the end zone. He's tackled. Great play. In the final play between the Eagles and Seahawks, Carson Wentz throws it deep, and it's intercepted by Earl Thomas, and the early bird catches the worm. Nobody could catch him today.
Well, Hank, as always, a great job with all of your recaps, and the DSFL 2020 certainly couldn't do it without you and without all of the amazing fans that make the Dream Season Football League possible. Again, the DSFL 2020 is a showcase of the top 20 teams over the last 20 years, from 2000 to 2019. Full disclosure, for those of you wondering, I would have put the 2019 Chiefs in there. Of course, they knocked off San Francisco in this most recent Super Bowl. However, due to the fact I had no real inclination that the Chiefs, at some point teetering during that year, would go on the run they did, winning 7 in a row to knock off the 49ers in comeback fashion. If I would have known that before starting this whole creation, then I would have put them in there. Nevertheless, there still is some incredible football teams. Even the 18 version with Kareem Hunt was pretty good too. Some of those guys are gone for this 2019 campaign. However, it still is an incredible year, and I can't wait to bring you the second half. If you have any recommendations for what to add for the Dream Season Football League 2020, make sure to comment below. And for all of you who have been here throughout the process, I thank you for making this possible. Without you guys, the Dream Season Football League would be nothing. I plan on doing another series after this one concludes, but for the meantime, enjoy the rest of the journey. Week 6 is later this week, and with 2 highlights of weeks every single 7 days, it should be a very fast and furious finish to who will win the Dream Bowl 5. Second half of the season is coming up next. For Hank Louis, for Lucas Vicente, and the rest of our broadcast crew, I am Charger Dude 95 saying so long for now. Week 6 is coming up next. Good night from our DSFL 2020 studios. Fifth installments of recap show. No. Look at what happens so far with the dang it, I was so close. On this year's show, we will look at all of Green Bay being the standard. No, we're gonna go ahead and cut that. 0-5 means they have no shot for okay, let's go ahead and restart that. The Tampa Bay bucket, and for the playoffs. Lucas Vicente 2020 studios.